Hi, my name is Martha Pulling, and I'm the founder and publisher of So Beautiful magazine. First of all, I'd like to thank you for subscribing to So Beautiful magazine. We have been publishing this magazine since 1987, and I'll tell you the truth, I love So Beautiful magazine, and I hope you do too. This is your free subscribers video. It's actually a teaching video. Some of you may know that I come from a long line of teaching background, and I'm a third-generation school teacher. We have several wonderful things to share with you, not to teach you. Of course, you're going to learn them. The first is Normandy lace. The next is everything you want to know about making a spoke collar. The next is something that's kind of fun. How do you make one of those wonderful diamond and heart and bow skirts the easy way? Well, we do have a trick for you. We're going to share with you how to make it the easy way. And finally, about half of this teaching video is Kathy Brower's teaching you silk ribbon embroidery stitches by hand. People, it just seems that silk ribbon embroidery has taken the country by storm, and so many of you have requested that we do a major silk ribbon teaching video for you. So guess what? Here it is on your free So Beautiful subscriber video. Once again, I want to thank you for subscribing to So Beautiful. I'm on the set of Martha's Sewing Room down here at the University of Alabama. And I think probably you know that my partners on Martha's Sewing Room are the University of Alabama Center for Public Television and Alabama Public Television, and I'd like to thank them for helping us get this So Beautiful video to you. Now, let's begin with the teaching. Normandy lace has long been one of my favorite techniques. It's really very easy to do. Let me show you some pretty examples of Normandy lace. On this adult dress, the Normandy lace, and let me tell you what Normandy lace is. It's lace shaping, edging, and insertion done on netting. In other words, there's a piece of netting here that all of the lace shaping is zigzagged to. All the way down the front of this pretty adult dress. I have a lovely adult blouse, too. And by the way, this is the blouse that we did on the 300 series of our Martha's Sewing Room, and the pattern is in your program guide. Do you see the Normandy lace on the top? This is wonderful lace shaping right on netting. Let me stick my hand down there so you can see that this is netting it's shaped on. A little girl's dress. You know how we love little girl dresses. This is Normandy lace shaped yet on something different. It's shaped on a wide piece of English netting. In other words, the English netting is from all the way up here down to here. And you can see the Normandy lace that has been shaped on this gorgeous English netting. Now, this embroidery right here came straight from the factory in England. A beautiful Margaret Boyle's pinafore bib that we have done on netting with lace just zigzagged across it, shaped on the netting, and then some little machine embroidered roses. Right down here is something real interesting. On the bottom of this pinafore bib, we've put a beautiful ribbon, and this is all machine embellishment. Looks like you spent hours embroidering by hand, but guess what? You didn't. One of my favorite little girl collars, and of course this could be a lady's collar too, is the beautiful Normandy lace, gorgeous shaping on netting, and then this little piece of embroidery right here at the top is stitched right out of one of your favorite embroidery machines. As a matter of fact, all of our machines do that gorgeous embroidery. You know, I love to use the technique boards to show you how to do things. So I'm going to use that technique once again. And let's just, before I show you how to do it, though, let me show you where I first got the idea for Normandy lace. This is an antique pillow which I purchased a number of years ago. The Normandy lace is shaped all around it, circles and squares and ovals, and there's just all kinds of bits and pieces, something really beautiful. Embroidery and then a little circle, little Swiss motifs. Here is another antique Normandy lace pillow that I purchased also at an antique store. Once again, embroidery. This has a little piece of a handkerchief. The edging, you use edging and insertion on Normandy lace. It's kind of a potpourri, just do anything you want to do. One pillow that we also used in the 300 series is Normandy lace, which I think is fit for a museum. Now, this is a new pillow. It is not an antique pillow. The little horse in the middle is one of our patterns that we have stitched in England on the netting, and then we've used all kinds of pieces of lace. just shaped it. There's a boomerang and there's a little scallop, and then used the lovely machine embroidery right out of today's gorgeous embroidery machines. Here we go, how to do Normandy lace. First of all, I draw my pattern on a piece of paper. Then I have a piece of water-soluble stabilizer, which goes next, and then the netting goes on top of that. Can you see this is a piece of netting? It goes on top of that. Next comes the lace shaping part of it. You know how much I love lace shaping. Now, to make this oval, I'm going to stick the pins. I want to try to keep my hands out of the way where maybe you can see what I'm doing. I stick pins on the big side of the oval. All right, I'm going to come around here, stick pins on the edge of the lace. I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way. I hope I'm doing that. I'm going to come in and stick a pin right here, and then I'll go all the way around. Now, this is floppy. Something has got to happen there. That did not lay down really pretty like an oval should. On the French lace, you see there's a gathering thread built in. Now, watch what happens. When I pull this gathering thread, the lace lays down perfectly, and that is how I shape and curve lace using the French laces. This shows how we've already come in here and we've shaped the curve. Now I'm going to come in here and show you how to do a miter. On the bottom, I put a pin at the bottom, a pin at the top. I fold the lace back on itself. This is a miter now. Remove the pin that goes through two areas, and then I have a beautiful lace miter there. After these have all been shaped down, you can see on this one I've already shaped them. I remove the pins from the board and pin it flat. Now, what have I pinned it flat to? I have my water-soluble stabilizer on the back, I have my netting on the front, and the laces have been pinned. At that time, I go to the sewing machine, and for the most part on Normandy lace, I zigzag. You could do a wing needle entredot, but as you can see, I have zigzagged the lace shaping to both of the layers. Now then, here's another idea. You can do your lace shaping. Here is my paper pattern, and just using the water-soluble stabilizer. Now, I have not put the netting behind there. I've done the shaping, and by the way, this is for the front of that gorgeous blouse I showed you a few minutes ago. After I shape the lace, then you can just press. This, see, I don't have any pins here. I simply pressed it to the water-soluble stabilizer, and then when I get ready to sew, I go in and add my layer of netting. In other words, just pin it together there, and that is another way of pinning and pressing and getting ready to sew. After I sew it, all the pieces to my netting, then I bring it over and put it on top of the garment. In other words, this is the big piece I've just stitched on, and I zigzag all the way around, you see, all the way around the outside, and then, of course, you can already guess what happens next. I come in and then cut away the dress or the blouse, as this is the case. Normandy lace can also be beautiful on the front of a little girl's heirloom party dress. Once again, using the same techniques, I shape the bow, I do the Normandy lace, and I zigzag it down to the netting. You know, there are some other pretty things to do with Normandy lace also. This box is absolutely gorgeous. It has Normandy lace shaping on the top with a little bit of silk ribbon embroidery, some embroidery out of your sewing machine, and this absolutely beautiful silk ribbon flowers, except these aren't silk ribbons. These is kind of an acetate taffeta ombre ribbon, just glued all over the side. Now, how do I sew lace shaping when I have it down for the Normandy lace? Well, I tend to believe it's better just to use a zigzag. You can use a wing needle entredot, but I tend to think that it's just better to go ahead and just use a plain zigzag, especially in the case of this one right now. This is absolutely tiny little curves and tiny little lace. Now, you know, too, that I am not going to sew in red thread when I'm making one of these gorgeous Normandy lace garments or pillows. I'm not going to sew in red thread, but that makes it a little bit easier for you to see on the TV show, I think. Now, looky here, I'm going to go all the way around the edges, and of course I carefully pull out one pin at a time, and I'm going to zigzag all the way around. You know what I've used here? I've used lace edging. You don't have to use just insertion when you shape Normandy lace. You can use a little lace edging, which is what I have used here. All the way around, I'm just going on the outside of the edging, carefully, carefully, simply zigzagging. It's just very easy to do. Just hang on to it. And I've got the water-soluble stabilizer underneath, and then the netting is shaped on top of that. And of course, you know I'm not going to use red thread. One last thing I'd like to show you. This little doll dress is absolutely beautiful. On the skirt of this beautiful doll dress is Normandy lace shaping. The Normandy lace shaping further goes up on the bodice of the dress, and the cute little silk ribbon tied here. Now the sleeve is just pretty netting. It doesn't have any Normandy lace shaping on it. By the way, this little drop waist pattern is in the 300 series to Martha's Sewing Room, the program guide, if you would like to have this pattern, and about 13 sizes for all different kinds of dolls at your house. Well, that's about how easy it is to do Normandy lace shaping. Let me refresh your memory one more time. You shape your laces either on the water-soluble stabilizer or on the water-soluble stabilizer plus the netting. You pin your shaped laces, you go to your sewing machine and zigzag them down, and then of course you wet your water-soluble stabilizer to remove it. Next, I hope to answer all the questions you ever had or did not have about how to make a beautiful scalloped or scalloped spoke collar. Making a spoke collar or a scalloped collar is really very easy. This beautiful example is white on white with a little bit of embroidery. You know what? It's just as cute to put it on a collar and using several different colors. Here's a detachable collar, a spoke collar. I'm going to show you how to make that in a few minutes. And you know what? Even our little boys like to wear, little tiny boys love to wear a fancy collar. This one is really a spoke collar, but it has little diamond points. Now, here is the formula. Here is how you make the scalloped or scalloped collar pattern. First of all, you take your blouse or your garment. Here's the back, here's the front. You pin the pattern pieces. This is just your paper pattern. You pin the pattern pieces at the shoulder and draw your neckline edge. Now, let me bring this over here and make this a little more clear. Here is your formula. Okay, here is the center front, and here is the center back line, not the fold back, but the center back. I'm going to measure these two pieces of lace to see exactly where my outside lace edging will be, and then where the center of this first spoke will be. In this case, it is about an inch, about 2 inches I'm taking off. Okay, now, measure around your collar from this point where your first spoke will be all the way around to the center front. Okay, then you multiply it times 2 because obviously I have a second half to this collar. This is 6 inches times 2 is 12 inches. Now, I want 7 spokes in this collar. 1, 2, 3, and the center one, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I will take 12 inches divided by 7. I have approximately 1.5 inches to 1 5/8, and then I will measure around here and put a mark right here, measure over 1.5 inches, put another mark, measure over 1.5 inches, and so forth and so on, all the way around the collar. Now, to get the bottom edge, first of all, I'm going to come over here and put the red line, shows me I'm going to go ahead and make a round collar out of it, not a spoke collar. Okay, now once again, starting from the point where the first spoke is, I'm going to measure all the way around, and this way it was 21 inches, but that's just half of the collar, so it's 21 times 2, and that makes 42. Okay, then in order to have 7 spokes, which is what I want to have, I divide it by 7. 42 divided by 7 is 6. So I know that I'm going to have 6-inch spokes. So I measure from here to here, 6 inches, make a mark, 6 inches, make a mark, 6 inches, make a mark. Now, in order to get the scallop line, which is right here, this is just a little styrofoam paper plate. I come in here and I lay it down where the 2 points meet the 2 points, and I draw off my different spokes or different scallops. That is an easy way for drawing your own collar to make a scalloped or a scalloped collar. Well, let me move this over just a little bit. Now, this is the first board. After I have drawn my scalloped collar, I'm going to simply pin the pieces of insertion on the spokes that I've drawn. Step number 2 is to come in and pin the lace that comes around in the scallops, and I will miter it. You can have a little sticking out there. It's okay. I will come all the way around with my edging insertion. Step number 3, after I remove it from the board, then I will go in and zigzag or wing needle entredot. This side I've zigzagged, this side I've wing needle entredoted. That's a new verb I just created, isn't it? I've entredoted. Then if I want to put entredot, the Swiss kind, on the outside, I can zigzag it. And if I want to use a wing needle entredot stitch on my sewing machine, which I'm going to show you how to do in just a minute, I gather the laces, butt them up, and I actually stitch in the entredot. The final board illustrates, look on this side, I do all of my stitching on this side. All of the lace is stitched down, and after everything is stitched down, then I cut away the excess fabric. Now that little trick of entredot to the edge is one that I would like to show you now. Let me slip in here. If I want to stitch in my entredot rather than purchase the Swiss entredot, I first of all put my wing needle in. In this case, I have used a 120 wing needle to make it bigger, and I have the straight lace. Now let me show you what I want to do, and I'm going to use, by the way, this shish kebab stick. Now my lace, I have no more gathers here, so look what I'm going to have to do. I'll pull my lace out, come in here, pick up one of the gathering threads, and gather, pushing a few more gathers, just a few gathers at a time, underneath the foot of my sewing machine, using my wooden shish kebab stick and leaving a little bit of area in between the gathered lace and the straight lace. Then I will use my wing needle entredot stitch, stitching straight, do not curve it, let it do all of the work itself. Okay, I will stitch just a little bit. Needle down position is always good. Let me move my pen here and move it out a little bit. Then I will lift up the presser foot and do a little adjusting. I'll just kind of take my wooden shish kebab stick. There we go. Now I'm going to stitch a little bit more of wing needle entredot. And with this one wing needle entredot stitch, I am joining the straight lace with the gathered lace. Okay, now we'll do a little more playing here. All right, I'll run a few more stitches. Here we go. And that way, I have stitched in the entredot while joining the straight lace and the gathered lace. Now, see, I've run out of gathered lace here. I'll have to go out once again, pick up one of the strings, and pull it over here so you can see. Pick up one of the strings and push a few more gathers underneath there and stitch along. This is what the collar looks like after I've stitched in the wing needle entredot and put my different spokes on. This is really a very easy collar to make and really, really a beautiful collar to make. And guess what? You can do it. I want to show you the easy way for making a skirt, for instance, such as the one with diamonds all the way across the bottom. There is a real trick to doing this the EASY way. Here we go. Now this is the real skirt, the fullness. What you do, you go ahead and serge or French seam up your side seam right here and leave it in one great big long piece. Then draw your hearts, in this case, one heart on this side of the center seam, one heart over here. Then move out, draw another heart over here, another heart over here, and move out this way. In other words, work from the center seam. Now here's a little miniature one shown for you. Here's the center seam. You do one heart here, one heart here. One heart here, one heart here, one heart here. Now, when you got your hearts all shaped, then you zigzag on the top of the heart, zigzag the inside of the heart, then cut away the excess fabric, and then at that point, as you can see right over here, gather your lace edging and zigzag it together. Okay, that's a heart skirt. Now let's make a diamond skirt. Same principle. Center seam, side seam is sewn up right here. Then I do one diamond here, one diamond here. Move over, one diamond here, one diamond here. Let me illustrate on the little miniature one. Here is the side seam serged up, the whole skirt, front and back. A diamond here, a diamond here, a diamond here, all the way across, and look once again. After you get all of your diamonds shaped, then zigzag the inside, zigzag the top, up, down, up, down, up, down. Then cut away all of this excess fabric and gather your laces, butt them up, and come around and finish the skirt. If you want to do bows, the same situation exists. Serge or French seam the side seam. Then a bow here and a bow here. Come up to my miniature one, please. A bow here, a bow here. A bow here, a bow here, a bow here, zigzag it, and then go ahead and put your scalloped lace. Now, I'll show you how to do each one of these figures individually. This lesson right here will be on wing needle entredeuxing, you know, our new verb we've created, in a curve. In this case, it's a small curve around a heart. Now, I'm going to sew, and I'm going to talk while I sew so you can watch. All right, I'm doing the wing needle entredeux stitch with a 120, or you can use a 100 wing needle. All right, I sew straight. That is really, really critical. And you're going to say, Martha, you're crazy. You're going around the curve of a heart. Well, yes, I sew straight as long, now I had to turn just a little bit there. I can sew straight another, maybe even a whole inch. Now I'm going to have to turn, so go ahead and veer just a little bit. The secret of sewing pretty entredeux around a curve is to sew straight. Now, although I'm going around the curve, I still have a little straight line there. All right, now then, I'm going to have to veer around just a little bit now, but I'm still going to sew straight as I can, and that is the secret, and you will have to practice just a little bit when you're doing wing needle entredeux in a curve, as I am sewing down this heart, making a beautiful wing needle entredeux. Remember, I'm sewing straight. Even on the top part of that curve, I'm sewing straight, and then I veer just a little bit. Now, as I come on around here to this part of the heart, as you can see, it's getting a little bit straighter, so that makes it easier to get around that heart. And that is how you sew wing needle entredeux around the curve. You sew straight. The little mini lesson in wing needle entredeuxing that I'm going to share with you now is how to turn a corner pretty perfectly when you come to a mitered corner. Okay, I'm going around a diamond. Let me wing needle entredeux. And by the way, I'm going to use the one stitch button. Now I'm going to come down into the corner real carefully, and I'm going to come down, and I really can't see exactly where I am, so I'm going to stop. It looks like I'm coming somewhere near the end, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to press on my one stitch button, which means that when I sew one more stitch, it will go to the stitch and then it will stop. Okay, now I'm going to look underneath there. No, I'm going to need one more. So I'll go ahead and sew, and while that button is on, it will give me only one more and stop. Okay, let me look again. Guess what? That is perfect, okay? I'm going to remove the one stitch button. I'm going to veer around. Now I have my needle in needle down position. I'm going to veer around, and it will begin with a brand new stitch pattern to sew all the way up the other side of this diamond. And that means that you can sew more perfectly. And don't forget, you always use stabilizer under wing needlework. And I'm using a tearaway stabilizer, and using that one stitch pattern makes it much easier for you to turn really pretty corners when you're doing your wing needle entredeux. You know, I'm going to show you a little bit about entredeux stitching a bow tie down. The bows, if you'll look down here, I want to make a bow tie to go on this flip-flop bow I've made. So I have a little piece of lace. I fold it back one time, fold it back another time, and that's going to be a little bow tie that I'm going to put down. Okay, I've already started entredeux stitching this little bow tie. And this is to show you that the entredeux stitch will go right through 4, 5, 6, or 7, or even 8 layers of lace and fabric. Remember, once again, I do have a stabilizer behind. Okay, now I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to turn around. Here we go. I'm just entredeuxing this bow tie all around. I'm sewing through many layers of lace, and then when I get all the way around the bow tie with the beautiful entredeux stitch, I can go back in and cut away the extra layers of lace and just leave one area of the little bow tie part. Remember, I'm using my shish kebab stick to hold it. Okay, I'm coming to the corner, twist around again, and I'm going to entredeux stitch right on the end of this bow tie, and then I have that cute little entredeux box here, and I'll trim away the lace from behind it, using my shish kebab stick to hold it. And now, Kathy Brower has 10 beautiful silk ribbon embroidery stitches to share with you. I'm pleased to have as my guest today Kathy Brower. Kathy is senior editor of So Beautiful magazine, a magazine all of you watching this video certainly know a lot about. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. It's great to be here.
Kathy, silk ribbon embroidery has taken the world by storm, and I wonder exactly what is silk ribbon embroidery?
Well, Martha, silk ribbon is just beautiful. That's all it is. But let me show you a few things just to get you a little excited about it. We have this beautiful beret here for a little girl, and stitching in wool is very easy, and I've done a couple of berets myself. This one has some really pretty spiderweb roses on it, which I will show you on this video, and also it's got these beautiful leaves and some couching. And silk ribbon is really, it's not like the ribbon that you buy in the store, the satin ribbon. It's a very delicate ribbon, easy to stitch with, and this type of embroidery is actually very, very old, and it's from France.
This is Kathy Awinder.
Kathy Awinder made these two samples, and she has saved my life helping me with samples. I tell you, she's very talented and she's very creative. She comes up with a lot of new designs.
A lot of them in So Beautiful magazine.
Yes, she's one of our top designers in silk ribbon. This is also a pillow that she's done with the spring flowers on it. And most of these stitches I want you to notice are built on the basic stitches that I'm going to go over with you on the video. And it's those basic stitches that we build all these other flowers upon.
Kathy, what kind of sizes are there in silk ribbon?
Well, there's several sizes. YLI puts out these silk ribbons that we distribute at Martha Poole & Company. Let me show you. I've pinned some on a piece of fabric here to show you the differences. This particular silk ribbon is the 2mm ribbon. It's great for very tiny rosebuds, very tiny stem stitching, whip stitching, if you want to make vines and stems. This is a 4mm ribbon. It's the most commonly used ribbon for your medium-sized flowers and leaves. This is a 7mm ribbon. It's the beginning of the wider ribbons, and it's most commonly used for your wider, bigger flowers and your bigger leaves. This is the 13mm ribbon, and this is great for the little projects that you do, like silk ribbon sculpting and the little hand roses and things that you make. You can also stitch with this too, believe it or not, but you have to use a big needle. This is the 32mm ribbon. This ribbon is great for sashing on dresses, great for making roses for hats, really big, big projects. So it makes good trims and edgings for boxes and things like that. So those are all our different sized ribbons.
Kathy, what about needles?
Needles, that's a good question. Most of my students always ask me about needles, and I say a lot of the needlework that you're going to be using with ribbon, it takes a little practice, and you need to figure that out. But I can give you a few pointers that will help you. The needles that I have here on my fabric are, these needles in this row are chenille needles. This is an 18 chenille needle. The next one is a 24, and this is a 26. Remember that the smaller the number, the larger the needle. These are tapestry needles, and these are 24 and 26. And if you'll notice, the 24 tapestry and the 26 chenille are a lot the same size. The only difference between these needles is one is pointed and one is dull. The chenille is more dull. And you use these needles according to the size ribbon that you're using. I would use this larger needle for the 7 and 13mm ribbon, and use the middle size needle for the 4mm ribbon, and the smallest needle for the 2mm. And it also depends on the type of fabric you use. This is linen. Linen is a great fabric to use, but it's a very loose weave, and you don't really have to have a very large needle. Now, if I were working with satin or, let's say, a tight weave fabric like, oh, I don't know, there's just lots of tight weave fabric, you can use the larger needle because you have to pierce the hole through that tight weave, and that's what guides your ribbon. If you feel yourself tugging too much on the ribbon, then you don't have a large enough needle, and you need to provide a better hole.
So Esther Randall of YLI put out a package of needles for silk.
Yes,
is most everything included in there?
Yes, this is the packet of needles that Esther puts out.
I thought Esther had
I can't tell you what a great packet of needles this is. Just about every needle you will need is in this packet. This large needle here you can actually use that on your 32mm ribbon and pull it through your fabric.
Well, Kathy, thank you for that introduction. I think it's now time to start on with the stitches. What is our first stitch?
Our first stitch is a running whip stitch, and let me show you this. It's real easy to do. I'll pull this out of the way. This stitch is used mainly for vines and stems of flowers and for any kind of outlining work you're going to do. As you'll notice here, this right here is the running whip stitch. A lot of times you can use different mediums, like I've used DMC floss here that matches my ribbon. Here I've done a running whip stitch with silk ribbon. This is the running stitch part, and this is the whip stitch part. So how you would do this is, I'll start with, I'm using a 4mm ribbon. What you want to do is take a simple tack stitch, just a straight stitch like you would if you were just sewing or quilting. And let me run a couple of these straight stitches in here first to show you what you would do, because I need to show you how you would begin this stitch and how you would end it. This is a fun, relaxing stitch to do, because usually you're doing a lot of it. If you're doing vines, you'll be doing this for a couple of hours, and it's kind of relaxing. You just sit in front of your TV and go at it, and pretty soon you're done. All right. I'm going to come up, when you're ready to do your whipping part, covering the stitches, you'll come up at the end here, and you'll begin by wrapping your ribbon underneath. You won't catch the fabric and you won't catch the ribbon. Then you'll go underneath the next one. Now, people ask me all the time, do you have to keep your ribbon straight? You don't necessarily have to. This is where the ribbon is straight. It makes a neater look. But if you're just running through here and whipping along, then it's not necessary. So,
Kathy, I think I can do that one.
yeah, it's pretty easy to do. I think anybody can do that one. So the next stitch I'm going to show you is a lazy daisy stitch. What I've written here on my sample is what the different effects you're going to get by different size ribbon. This is a 7mm ribbon. It makes a big fluffy petal. This is a 4mm and this is a 2mm. So you have to determine how big you want your flower and exactly what you're doing with your flower when you choose a size ribbon. Right here is a lazy daisy daisy. So I've
That's such a pretty flower.
Yes,
it's
it
used
is
a lot in silk ribbon.
Oh, I think the lazy daisy stitch is the most used stitch in silk ribbon. All right, what you do is you come up somewhere, anywhere in your fabric. Say this is the center of my flower. I'm going to wind my ribbon around and I'm going to insert the needle back down where I came up. And I'm going to bring that up just slightly, a little bit above there, and I'm going to make sure that my ribbon is behind my needle when I pull it through. I'll pull that through loosely. You don't want to pull too tight on your ribbon. And then I will anchor that by going back down in the last stitch. And that's how easy it is to make a lazy daisy. Probably pulled it a little loose there. Let me make another one for you. We'll wrap it around. You can make irises with this, rosebuds, leaves. It's a great stitch. Pulled it up through there, and then we're going to anchor it, like so. And that's pretty easy to do, I would say. It's most everyone's favorite stitch.
And on that little flower, did you have green and then pink?
I did the pink first, and then I finished the center with a knot, and then I added the lazy daisy leaves with green. So it's just a change of the color of thread. The next stitch I'm going to show you is a Japanese ribbon stitch. This is a pretty easy stitch too, and it's prettiest with the widest ribbon. All right, what you do is you come up.
What width ribbon are you using?
Oh, I'm using 7mm ribbon. This makes great leaves. The reason I chose green and 7mm is to show you how easy and how pretty it looks as a leaf. Here I've made a flower out of it and then come back with stitches on top. And here I've used the same stitch with just different color ribbon. With the purple, it becomes a little bud, a flower bud, and with the green, it's a leaf, even though it's the same stitch, so you get a different effect even if you change the color. To make this stitch, you'll simply take a stitch, and instead of going straight back down in the ribbon like you would on a straight stitch, you'll hold it flat out, and you'll pierce through the center of the ribbon. You see what I'm doing here? I'm going to pierce through the center of that ribbon. Then the trick to this is to pull the ribbon through until it just simply lightly curls in at the top, like so. I'll do one more for you. This is a real easy, very, very common stitch. You'll see it quite a lot. We'll make another one here and just pull it gently until it curls in. And if you pull it too tight, that's what it looks like. So you want to make sure that you don't pull it too tight. The next stitch is a very simple stitch. It's simply a straight stitch. But you'll use straight stitches a lot for very tiny work. It makes great rosebuds. You'll use it a lot to add color to other flowers. So, and that's simply going in the fabric and out the fabric, in the fabric and out the fabric. If you want a flat look, you keep the ribbon straight. If you don't care, then it doesn't matter if it twists on you. So that's just a matter of preference. Next stitch I'd like to show you is a loop stitch. This is a fun stitch. However, if you're going to be washing a garment by hand, you would want to make sure you anchor this pretty well. This is a bow made of a loop stitch, and these are some flowers. This has been anchored with floss. This has been anchored with a knot. This stitch is simply a straight stitch that has not gone all the way through the fabric. So you'd simply come back down where you went through the fabric. This one is a stitch that you'll want to keep the ribbon straight, and you can hold it with your finger until you get it down as far as you want it. And it's a loop. You can tack that down with a bead, with a piece of thread, or with like a colonial knot, something like that. The next stitch, this is everyone's favorite stitch. It's really easy to do, and it's very impressive looking. It's a spiderweb rose, and this is what the rose looks like. It looks like it's very difficult to make, but I will show you how easy it is. First of all,
a lot of people have asked me about how do you do that beautiful rose, so I'm glad you're going to show everyone that one.
Oh, when I teach this in class, everybody is like, oh, I can't do that rose, and I'm like, oh, yes, you can. You're going to love it. They want to put it on everything. First thing I'm doing is I'm using one strand of DMC floss, and you want a floss that will match your ribbon so that your spokes won't show through. Next, what I do, I've knotted the end of this ribbon, but you want to take a tack stitch so that when you're putting tension, wrapping your ribbon through, you don't want it to pull back through the fabric. So I've taken a little tack stitch. And this will be the center of my 5 spokes. You have to create a spoked, 5-spoked star to wrap your ribbon on. So I will do that for you right here. There's one. And another thing that I've recognized in teaching this personally, my students are worried about whether their spokes are all evenly spaced apart, and it does not have to be evenly spaced apart. As you see when I finish this, it will not be a perfect, star. You just whip these in here and whip them out and don't worry about it. But you want to keep the length of the spoke generally the same. And with a fat ribbon, you want your spokes to be kind of long. You see, that's not a perfect one, but you'll see my rose will look good. I hope. Sometimes it doesn't always. Especially when you've got a camera on you, you'll always automatically mess up. All right. Next, I'm going to take my ribbon from the bottom. I've got a knot in it already. And I'm going to pierce that through the center. Pull it all the way up, and I'm going to choose a spoke and go underneath it. Like so. Pull that underneath there. Over the next spoke and under the next spoke. Over and under, all the way around. So go over the next one and under the next one. Make sure I'm under that one. Yeah. And you'll just wind it. You might want to, I have a tendency to pull my ribbons tight. You want to pull them tight at the beginning, but then you want to loosen them up. Well, we hooked up here. Don't want to do that.
It's okay, you got plenty of time.
Okay.
Probably everyone else will hook up on the end of the embroidery hoop, too.
Yeah, that's true. So then I go under, over. I'm going to go under this one, over the next one. Then you'll have to start peeling your petals back with your finger. But don't be afraid to do that because silk ribbon is very resilient, very forgiving. It pops right back into place. And I need to turn. Another thing about doing silk ribbon, teaching it, is I've had to learn to do silk ribbon 2 feet away from me, and that's very difficult because you really want it right up on you when you're doing it. So trying to keep it where everyone can see what I'm doing. You see how that's starting to form a flower, a rose?
So pretty.
Yeah, and you just keep going around till all of your spokes are covered up. And you'll end it by simply going underneath a petal and pulling it through and tying a knot on the bottom. That easy.
That is just the most beautiful stitch.
Yeah, it's fun too. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is a hand-twisted rose. And I have to admit, I've taught a class where we had to do 3 of these on a pillow. And the ladies that were in that class, you know who you are, they were frustrated with me. But they wanted to see how to do it. But it takes some practice, and it takes some patience. I'm cutting off about 10 inches of ribbon. And when you stitch with silk ribbon, I meant to mention this before, you don't want to stitch with more than 10 inches, 10 to 12 inches, because it will fray. The more you use it, the more it frays. And you don't want to waste any of this ribbon. It can be expensive when you're doing a large project. So this one does not take a needle. I'm going to do this one by hand. How to start this ribbon, or this rose, I will fold my ribbon once this way, and then once more over. And you can use a pencil, or a white pencil's good because it won't mark off. But what I have here is a cuticle stick. And the end of it had been sharpened like a pencil, so I like to use it. I'm going to stick it up in there and kind of put some tension on it. All right, first thing I want to do is twist my ribbon with my thumb backwards, away from me, and curl that up. As you'll notice, you have to have all 10 of your fingers on this project. Then once I've come back around and I don't see that curl anymore, I'm going to twist it back behind me, roll it up. And I will keep twisting and rolling, rolling and twisting all the way around. You want to keep this pretty loose. A lot of the students, when they first start, have a tendency to do this very tight, and it just doesn't turn out right, and that's what really frustrates them, is because you really got to have loose tension when you do this. Okay, I think that's plenty. What you do to stitch this, or to hold it together, is you simply put 2 fingers here and your thumb on top, and you pull it out. Anyway, you squish it between your 2 fingers, like I've done here. Sometimes you can pull that back through and it won't hurt, but you don't want to jerk your pencil out quite so hard. Then you'll take a needle and you'll pierce through all the fibers here, and you'll take a stitch like I've done. And you want to have your needle already threaded up and knotted before you do this, because you won't have any fingers extra to do this. When you turn it over, it'll look like this. And you'll take a couple more stitches in here, you'll wind it and stitch it. And what you want to do, after you've taken about 5 stitches, is you want to cut this tail. Let me lay this down. Thank you. Cut it off. Leave about 3 inches so that when you're ready, you can thread these loops up and pierce through your fabric. Let me show you what I've done here. And tack it down to your fabric like I've done here, and simply tie a knot and cut it off. And that's how you attach it to your fabric, and then you'll create leaves around that.
Those are beautiful, too.
Yeah, they're can't say they're easy to make, but anybody can make them with a little practice.
Okay.
Okay. The next stitch I want to show you is a colonial knot and a French knot. Everybody always asks me, how do you do this? And they're done different ways. There is a difference. My favorite is the colonial knot because it's no fail. It won't go back through the fabric. But I'll show you the French knot first. And if I fail, forgive me. The tendency people want to do when they do a French knot is wrap it this way, towards their needle is towards the fabric. I found out the trick to a French knot is you're actually wrapping away from the fabric. And here I've done about 2 wraps. I'll do 3. What you want to do is come back and insert your needle just beside where your ribbon came up to begin with. And you'll pull the tension out on the bottom, like I've done here, so it all scrunches up at the bottom of the needle. Then you'll tug, like I'm doing, because you've got to get that eye and all that bulk of the ribbon through all those layers. And like I've done, I've pulled it through. I think that I have pierced the knot. I'll try that one again. I think I can do it this time. Well, that's what happens when I talk about going through the fabric. We'll try this one more time. I've done 2. I'll go into the fabric, pull the tension out, pull the ribbon through. There we go. I did it. There's a French knot. Now, a colonial knot is a little different. You'll make a figure 8. Instead of wrapping the needle like you did on a French knot like this, you'll wrap it once away from you and once towards you, and it makes a figure 8. So I'll do that again. You wrap it away from you once and towards you once. Then you'll go back down into the fabric, pull the tension out like you would on a French knot, and pull that through. There you go. And it keeps
it do that one more
together.
time, because some people have never even heard of a colonial knot, I'm thinking. Please.
Colonial knot is, it takes a little getting used to, even when you're showing someone, they're like, now which way? So you wrap the needle once away from you and once towards you.
Okay.
And then you insert the needle right beside it, pull the tension out, keep this taut with your thumb, and pull the needle through, like so.
Thanks.
Pretty easy. Okay, except for that French knot, it always gets me.
And here comes one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, this is cascading. This is a very delicate stitch here. Also, where your ribbons or the little tails on your ribbon are anchored, you can also cover that with a bead or with a French knot or a colonial knot. All right, what I've done first is I've made my bow first, and then I've come up underneath my bow. And cascading is simply not pulling your ribbon. Well, actually, I should start on top. Let me cut this knot off, and I'll show you. You're not going to come up through your ribbon. You're going to start it somewhere here, and you're just going to take a tiny little strand of thread in your fabric, pull that ribbon through, and leave it, hold it there. Then you want to twist the ribbon just slightly and take another tiny little fiber of your fabric. Pull it through, not all the way through, but you want to leave it kind of loose. Next one, you just take, and you just guide it around in whatever shape you want it. And that's what cascading is. Actually, it's called cascading because it's the tails of a bow cascading along in some kind of a shape. And you can tack that down with thread, or you can tack it down with other ribbon.
I think that's one of the pretty ones also.
Yes, it really is. The next one I want to show you is a feather stitch. This is a line stitch. This stitch is great for crazy patch embellishment. It's also great for leaves or vines or greenery in floral bouquets. This is a pretty easy stitch to get used to. Once you get the hang of it, there's a rhythm to it, kind of like dancing. So basically, I've exaggerated the triangle that you'll be going in. But here, the stitch begins with A, and then you'll insert your needle in B, come up in C. It's like an open-ended lazy daisy stitch or a fly stitch, and you continue doing this sequence down the whole string of feather stitch. And here, if you notice, all of these A points line up, and all of these B points line up, and all of the C points line up. So you have to kind of keep in mind when you're doing a feather stitch that it's just a triangle that you're going in. I've come up in A, I'll go down in B, I'll come up in C, here at the point of the triangle. Notice that C is in between A and B. I'll take some tension out. Now, where the ribbon is coming out at C now becomes A again. So you'll have to look at this like a separate triangle. A, then B, and then down C. Now, you can keep going in this direction. I could come back over here and have a stitch that has 3 triangles in this direction and then change directions. But I'm going to do traditional feather stitch, and I'm going to change the direction. So I'm going to go B to C. And you want to make sure that your ribbon always stays behind your needle. And you just keep going. I do a lot of this with gold thread, just to add a bit of glitz to a floral bouquet or a project. It's that easy.
Feather stitch, on some of my antique crazy patch quilts, seems like feather stitch and buttonhole stitch are two that they really loved maybe 75, 80, or 100 years ago.
Yeah, it is a very old stitch. As a matter of fact, my grandmother called it chicken scratch. Remember that?
I've heard
Looks
that,
like chicken feet. But these are heirlooms, and we will
don't call it chicken feet.
All right, the next stitch I want to show you is a fly stitch, and you'll see why. It looks like a little fly, but the way I've done it here is I have some cascading ribbon, and I have the little blue birds instead of blue flies, kind of carrying the ribbon like you would see in a busy or something like that. Here I've used it on a leaf or a fern effect. So how you do this is just like you would do a lazy daisy, but instead of going back down in the same hole, you'll come over a distance. Just like we did on the feather stitch a minute ago, it's exactly the same. Except for instead of coming over here and doing a line stitching, I'm going to anchor this like 1/8 of an inch away and make a little tab at the end. And that's a fly stitch. It's just an open-ended lazy daisy. One thing I do need to show you before we cut is how to thread your needle. Let me show you this. Really easy. I'll use a little bit of a trick to that. A little bit of a trick. Yeah, it keeps your ribbon from slipping around. It also saves a lot of your ribbon. I'm going to thread this up. All right, what you want to do is take your needle and go back and stitch through and pierce through the center of your ribbon so that you have a loop like that. Next, I'll pull the slack out of it, and I'll just pull that right over itself, and that anchors your ribbon and keeps it from slipping out while you're stitching.
Do you have another needle so you can show that one more time?
Yes, let me get a larger needle for you.
That is so critical from my experiences.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really
you
is.
just show that a little bit bigger ribbon so everyone can really see that real
Before I
clear.
learned how to do that, I aggravated myself to death trying to re-thread this ribbon all the time. What you'll do is you'll thread it, and you'll pierce through the center of, you'll just come up and leave about a 1/2 inch tail, pierce through the center of the ribbon, pull it through, pull the slack out, and pull that tab, that little tail, right over it. Now, you can tie knots in your ribbon to stitch, or you can hold back 1/2 inch or so of it and then tack it down later with matching thread.
Oh, Kathy, thank you so much for a beautiful job on teaching some beautiful stitches with silk ribbon embroidery. And thank you. That concludes the teaching portion of our annual So Beautiful subscribers free video. Thank you so much for subscribing to So Beautiful. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our new television series, Martha's Sewing Room. It is produced in conjunction with the University of Alabama Center for Public Television and Alabama Public Television. I'd like to personally thank each one of you who has made a phone call to your PBS station, and thanks to your phone calls and your letters, we are currently on in 45 of the 50 states of the United States of America. If you would like Martha's Sewing Room on in your city, and it's not on in your city yet, if you'll just call your local PBS station and have your friends and family and sewing guilds and neighbors and whoever else call, there's a very good chance that you'll be able to see Martha's Sewing Room in your city also. And once again, for those of you that do have Martha's Sewing Room or any other wonderful PBS shows showing in your area, please call your local station and thank them for airing Martha's Sewing Room or your other favorite shows. Now, a lot of you have called our offices in Huntsville, Alabama, and have said, Martha, what else do you do at Martha Pulling Company? I know about So Beautiful, and I know about Martha's Sewing Room. So to close out this video, I thought I'd let you see a few of the other things that we do. First of all, our products, books, fabrics, laces, are in many, many fine shops and sewing machine dealerships and fabric stores all across the United States. But I'd like to show you a few of these things, and if they're not available locally, then of course you can always call our 800 number, and we could help you with them also. The first thing that I would like to share with you is our program guides that go along with our Martha's Sewing Room. This is the 100 series, 300-page book with a lot of patterns. You're going to just love it. The next items that I'm really excited about are the videos to go along with Martha's Sewing Room. The 100 series is found on 1, 2, 3 videos, 13 shows on 3 videos, and the 200 series is once again 13 shows on 3 videos. Now, I will tell you that the only place that you can purchase the Martha's Sewing Room videos is from Martha Pulling Company, although the books and everything else I'm going to talk to you about is available at shops all throughout the United States of America. We also have the last 3 free subscriber videos, 1, 2, 3, for sale now that we did the last 3 years, if any of you missed out on any of those. Now, the 200 Martha's Sewing Room series is called Victorian Sewing and Crafts. It is a 400-page book with loads of patterns, doll dresses and 13 different sizes, a child's drop-waisted dress. I really think you're going to like our books. Now then, French and English laces are one of our specialties. Here's the insertion and the edging, and then here's the lovely English netting lace that's really wide and really pretty. Another one of the books we have is called The Joy of Smocking. Everything you ever didn't want to know or did want to know, either one about smocking. And the little nightgown pattern, which is in size 6 months to 14 years, I believe, is so adorable. It's easy to smock. It just has a little bit of smocking in the front. A great and easy pattern. Now, one of the books that we're most proud of is our Heirloom Sewing for Women book. This is the 400-page plus book with lots of patterns. As a matter of fact, here is the pattern envelope that goes along with it. Women's sizes from 2 to 24. Hopefully that will get most of you out there that would enjoy making a lovely blouse for yourself. We have needles for heirloom sewing, hand sewing needles. Then on over to some other books. I'll hold these up here for those of you that haven't seen them. Barely Beginning Smocking with bare clothes and smocking directions. French Hand Sewing by Machine, the second book. Madame Alexander 14-inch girl Victorian doll dress patterns with 25 patterns in one book. Heirloom doll clothes that fits 15 to 18-inch dolls. Shadow work made easy. Shadow work embroidered by hand. And applique, Martha's favorites. All of our books have lots of patterns in them, as well as, we believe, well-illustrated, easy-to-follow instructions. We have a smocking machine, a pleater that you can pleat before you smock. We have Grandmother's Hope Chest, a 400-page book with, I think, maybe about $400 of patterns, everything you would ever hope to make in the way of christening dresses or items for a baby. Threads, oh, the lovely silk ribbons in every color and every width from YLI, every width they carry. The little pearl buttons to put on your little dresses or little boy suits. We have our beautiful antique clothing book with the pattern envelope with 5 patterns. For those of you that want to know about silk dupioni, well, we have it in lots of colors. We have the lovely silk batiste. We also have the lovely Swiss batiste called Nilona. Absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm really excited about this lovely sewing machine cabinet right here. This is the new Martha Pull-In sewing machine cabinet from Parsons. Let me open it up and just show you. It has all this wonderful wide opened up space. It also has your serger tray that comes up so your serger can store right away. We have an automatic lift. You just press a button, it goes zoop, brings your sewing machine up, zoop, takes your sewing machine down, and looks like a beautiful piece of furniture also for your den or for your bedroom or for any room really that you would like to keep the sewing machine cabinet. I'd like to invite all of you to come to our Martha Pull-In School of Art Fashion. We have been doing this for the last 12 years where people from all over the world have arrived at Huntsville to sew for 4 days, and those that would like to come for pre-days sew for an extra couple of days. We have our school in February and late July, so we certainly would like to invite you to come to our Martha Pull-In School of Art Fashion held in Huntsville, Alabama. Thank you so much for subscribing to So Beautiful magazine. I certainly hope that you'll be attending one of our schools before too long, and I do hope that you have enjoyed our teaching video. Now may God bless all of you until we meet again, and I do hope that is very soon.